anthropologist, sebagai seorang yang dah belajar anthropology dan sociology, you are seorang ataupun you are the person that your lecturers atau the people around you would expect you to be someone yang very understanding and very you perlu faham that how someone's background is going to shape them. So you are that person who's going to understand that, and you are going to be the most judgmental person and at the same time the least judgmental person in the room. That was something that I had to learn the hard way lah. Okay, yeah.
Okay, macam mana pula kalau cabaran tentang, dalam pembelajaran ni kan setiap sem di antara sem tu yang kamu rasa macam paling mencabar, macam susah lah begitu. Jadi bagi kamu Cik Alia, apa yang sem yang paling susah kamu rasa di sepanjang selama 6 sem? Faham?
Okay. Faham. Sem yang paling susah, I think it was the first semester of the third year. Don't be scared of those who's going to enter the third year next year. Don't be scared. It was tough for me sebab waktu tu I rasa my result sangat-sangat drop. I don't know for what reason, but I think maybe sebab I banyak main-main ke apa ke. Tapi I also rasa second sem of that third year, which was my final sem, I banyak lagi main-main from the first sem. And I'm going to be very honest, I am not a serious, okay, I shouldn't say that I'm not serious. I am a serious student, tapi I banyak main-main. I like to have fun. And I also feel like classes ataupun course you and lecturers you akan jadi fun juga kalau you make it fun. And it's tak ke dalam, you tak perlu belajar dalam keadaan you terlalu serious. And waktu sem pertama, third year tu, I think it was a mixture of, kita first time nak buat FYP. That's the first semester where you have your FYP. And at the same time, you still have like about 5 to 6 courses. And including 4, kalau tak silap, I ada 4 core subjects kot. I could be wrong lah, either 3 to 4 core subjects. It's your first year trying to balance something else other than your classes. And that something else too is 100% solely dependent on you. Which means you yang tentukan pace your FYP, apa yang you nak buat, when's your next consultation dengan your SV. At least with my SV, which is Dr. Nick, we had to be self-sufficient, we have to be dependent, which is, I believe, how it should be. And we have to be the ones initiating consults with him, and he's always ready to help us anytime, but we also have to be proactive. And I rasa that's why the first semester was a struggle, because I was also trying to find a pace to work dengan Dr. Nick, but at the same time I had to focus on the subjects that the core subjects yang ada pada waktu tu. And surprisingly, even though that was my least performing sem, I think that sem I lepas 3.5, but I barely lepas. That sem had my 2 favorite subjects, which was environment and indigenous communities. Dengan there was another subject that Mr. K taught. I believe it was, I forgot. But there was another subject that he taught selain daripada indigenous, Borneo ethnography. So these are out of my 6 semesters dekat 5 SOS, dekat NSOS, out of my 6 semester dekat NSOS, these were my 2 favorite subjects lah. And the reason being is because I felt like it shifted my way of thinking. Dia merubah sedikit sebanyak, banyak lah actually, merubah pola pemikiran about how kita view communities yang ada dekat Borneo. And it's a lot different than what I expect kita orang akan belajar dalam masa 3 tahun tu. And I guess sebab benda tu, it changes the way my brain thinks. That also translates to how poor I was doing in the essays. But I survived regardless. And how I survived is, honestly, to me, if I were to give a tip, right, I someone yang study last minute. Kalau you tengok, kalau ada dewan peperiksaan and we have to stay kan sebelum kita masuk exam, we'll we'll sit outside of the hall, kan. You will see me and my friend, kita orang buat one big circle where we just discuss about the study. I would have studied the notes the night before and that morning. So when I realized that this is how I studied and this is how I prepare for my exams, I know that there is no better way than for me to jot down every single thing that my lecturer is saying waktu kelas. So waktu kelas tu berlangsung, I akan buat nota based on the slides. Kalau Mr. K dia memang tak bagi slides kan. Jarang lah nak tengok dia bagi slides. I akan jot down not only benda yang ada dekat slide tu, tapi benda yang lecturer sebut. Sebab sometimes benda yang they say tu actually comes out in the exam more than the things that comes out on the slides. It's so important sebab it's going to help you to explain the benda yang diorang mention dekat slide. So because of this, I realized that okay, I have to prepare myself early waktu kelas, so I taklah struggle sangat when I study last minute. It depends lah sebab certain people diorang study, ada memang study seminggu awal diorang memang bawa buku dah kan. It's up to, I think it depends on the individual juga sebab cara I study maybe tak berkesan dengan orang lain dan cara orang lain study maybe tak berkesan dengan I. So untuk mengatasi this problem, you need to have mitigation lah. You need to know how to mitigate the issue. And for me, it was to prepare beforehand. So I know all this preparation, I will need it at the last minute. And selain daripada tu, because it was a tough semester, I think having a good support system works. I rasa bila orang cakap macam mana nak mengatasi cabaran ni, people don't really talk about how important it is to have a supportive group of friends. And I honestly, I owe a lot of my kesenangan nak belajar tu dengan my friends sebab they are all very supportive. So you need to find a group of friends yang okay, fine, you can have fun, you can join all the silly things that is going on, and then you can, pergi PV, ketawa-ketawa seketika. It's up to you because you're having fun, you're in uni, you should have fun. But also at the same time, this group of people that you're having fun with should also remind you, esok kita ada assignment nak kena hantar. Malam ni kita kena discuss pasal ni. This thing, they need to also keep you in track. So it's very important. Kadang-kadang we tend to rasa macam, okay, my friends are all, tak semestinya kawan you semua, sometimes you get stressful group of friends. You see stressful group of friends who are only friends because they needed each other to get an A in an assignment. That happens. And sometimes you see a group of friends who like, okay, I tak kisah sangat about all these kind of things. I'm just here to have fun. So it's good for you to have a balance. It's good for you to have fun, but also have a group of friend yang akan ground korang and cakap, okay, kita kena siapkan benda ni, kita kena buat benda ni, kita kena discuss benda ni. And then lepas korang dah siap semua tu, dan suka korang lah nak have fun ke apa ke. I think that's also important. And people don't talk about it enough when they talk about when korang like bila diorang minta tips, okay, macam mana nak mengatasi cabaran waktu study. I rasa benda tu sangat important sebab ada jenis orang kalau dia tengok friend dia ke laut, dia pun ke laut juga. And so if you know you're that kind of person, find a friend group yang boleh ke laut and boleh ke darat. Sometimes you need a balance. Tu yang I rasa cara I mengatasi benda tu lah. And then last sekali, I think it's also important for you to make time for yourself. So I sound macam a mental health advocate kan, but studying is stressful, especially if you are someone who is a high achiever, you sentiasa nak dapat good grades and you nak perform in class. You also need to have downtime for yourself. So in my final year, I was obsessed with crocheting. I don't know why I have that hobby for like the whole year, and I would make flowers for my friends. And that was my downtime because it helps me take off the study stress. It sounds funny, it's like a grandma hobby, tapi sangat-sangat membantu untuk you guys relax, for you guys to have fun and not think about other things. And yeah, I think that's how I overcome the challenges and the hardest sem lah. I think first year sem kelima lah. Sem kelima adalah sem yang agak tough for me, but thank God, thankfully I orang cakap come back on the final sem. So it's all good.
Okay, perkongsian sangat menarik, Alia.
Mm.
Okay. Baiklah, apabila semakin hampir ke penghujung pengajian pula, adakah anda ketika itu sudah mempunyai gambaran atau perancangan tentang kerja ya?
Yes, of course. Saya rasa pada tahun terakhir tu, itu adalah perkara yang I selalu sangat fikir. Selain daripada nak graduate on time, selain daripada nak siapkan FYP, I juga fikir, saya pun berfikir, okay, how am I going to work? What jobs are we going to have? Sebab I rasa for people in humanities, we like to fear monger. There's a lot of fear mongering about career jobs. Sebab orang cakap, apa je masa depan you dalam ANSOS? Apa je masa depan you dalam social sciences? We hear that a lot. But to me, it doesn't matter anymore. You graduate from which course. The job market is tough. So it doesn't matter if you're from social sciences, doesn't matter if you're from engineering, doesn't matter if you're STEM. The job market is tough. And I think we should stop this. Kita patut stop menakut-nakutkan graduan sains sosial ke, graduan ANSOS yang cakap, oh korang boleh kerja kat museum je, korang boleh kerja kat situ, we are this is what Dr. Tracy taught us lah. We are highly adaptable because we study anthropology and sociology. So technically they can put us anywhere and we'll survive because we have a very adaptable set of theory and skills that we can use. Tapi at the same time, with it being adaptable, if you want to narrow yourself down to one path, you have to do extra courses lah. You have to take on extra knowledge on your own. So, and I don't think benda tu hanya eksklusif untuk pelajar ANSOS. It's also exclusive to pelajar-pelajar course lain juga sekarang sebab the job market is tough. So, in my final year, I ada long term dengan short term goal. So, my long term goal is I want to be an academic. I want to be in academia. I nak jadi lecturer. So, that's my long term goal. I foresee that in my future. Tapi short term goal, I kadang-kadang berubah, right? You know, in that short-term goal, I'm going to be very honest. I rasa I kena jadi transparent. My short-term goal is, how do I maintain and sustain my lifestyle with a job that actually favors my course ataupun job yang while I nak on the way nak jadi lecturer tu, macam mana I masih boleh kekalkan the theories that I belajar and the skill sets that I have. So I know I have to do something yang berkenaan dengan research. I know I have to do something yang berkenaan dengan community at least. So at least when I eventually get to my long-term goal, I have this amount of experience from my short-term goals ataupun short-term career path. And I read up on it. So there's a lot of opportunities sekarang. You don't necessarily have to have a physical office. Kadang-kadang orang sekarang banyak work from home, orang banyak work hybrid. Your company can be in Damansara and you can work from Kuching. I have friends who do that. Tapi at the same time, it's also concerning as an ANSOS student sebab I feel like even though the job market is tough for everyone, that because we are highly adaptable and highly dependable, sebab kita boleh masuk mana-mana, it's easier for us to be exploited in a sense. And sometimes we might end up doing jobs that kita tak nak pun, kita rasa benda tu tak align pun dengan apa yang kita nak in the future. And I think that's common. I have a lot of my friends now who are working in fields that they don't necessarily enjoy or not. They don't necessarily see the connection dengan ANSOS. A lot of my ANSOS friends are like that. But the market is tough. The economy is tough. So you need to know, you need to learn how to survive and you kena ada skill set in order for you to survive juga. That's what I feel lah. So sekarang orang selalu cakap, you guys tak boleh memilih lah pasal kerja. And we always get fired. Like we always get the heat for this. Sebab orang selalu cakap, oh Gen Z ni sangat-sangat memilih lah nak kerja macam ni, tak nak kerja macam ni, nak kerja gaji tinggi, nak kerja gaji rendah, tak nak gaji rendah, semua tu kan. And I rasa to some point, to some extent, benda tu betul. Kita memang memilih kerja, but we have to for a reason because the economy is tough. The economy is not the same macam 10, 15 years ago that they were comparing to. Dulu gaji you 1,800 you dah boleh dah beli rumah, beli kereta. Sekarang 1,800 you can hardly sustain yourself. The economy is so different. And in my case, I earn slightly more lah. I earn more than the minimum wage. But I am very grateful sebab I still live with my parents. I tak perlu sewa rumah, I tak perlu bayar maintenance kereta sebab I use the car that my dad gave me. And so on my end, I was able to use my money to macam the wage and my earnings, flush it into my saving atau flush it for other things that for entertainment purposes, like go concerts and travel, for example, right? I was so privileged to have that privilege. Tapi at the same time, I also kena fikir that a lot of people who had to get jobs now are not because they like their jobs or they enjoy their jobs. It's because kalau diorang tak kerja, diorang tak ada duit and diorang cannot survive and they cannot sustain themselves or sustain their hobbies or sustain their lifestyle. And itu sangat-sangat important. So when I was planning my career, I knew I had to do something short term before I get to my long-term goal. So I started thinking, maybe I can do something about research. Maybe I can try and apply at the museum. But at the time, museum belum ada jawatan kosong. So for us to work with state, there needs to be like jawatan kosong punya advert baru kita boleh apply. So I look into companies yang I rasa, okay, maybe they hire researchers or they need someone to do research on certain things. So I apply and selain daripada my other options, selain daripada something yang align dengan ANSOS was something yang align dengan my skill sets that I have. And I rasa people underestimate this because having experiences outside of UNIMAS and outside of uni, and when you are involved with community and involved with programs in NGOs, for example, you will have a certain set of skill sets kan. For example, communication atau how you interact dengan people. And it's important for kita to also mempergunakan or leverage or make full use of this skill set yang kita orang ada. Sebab kalau you tak pakai, sayang lah kan. Sebab the job market is tough. It's hard for you to find a job yang perfectly aligns dengan your course. So find a job that you have the skill set for, or look through possible jobs ataupun possible positions that you boleh apply for based on your skill set. And I guess do a lot of preparation. Use your final year, the semester before a few months before your graduation tu. Kalau you buat part time, you buat part time lah. In my case, I did part time. And at that point, use that time you have, or better yet, gunakan masa yang you ada sekarang sebagai pelajar tahun 2, pelajar tahun 3. Collect as much experience as you can in and outside of UNIMAS. I would prefer that you go outside, buat outreach. Sometimes UNIMAS buat outreach program kan. So you guys participate and see how things are. Then those things are going to be helpful in you building your kemahiran lah.
Faham? Okay, jadi adakah bagi Cik Alia adakah cara lain untuk Cik Alia mempersiapkan diri sebelum masuk ke alam pekerjaan selain yang part time tu?
Okay. Sekarang I feel like orang banyak promote LinkedIn profiles, how you can uplift ataupun facelift your resume and LinkedIn profile. So waktu I start daripada I finish my paper pun, I was already looking for ways on how I can make my LinkedIn and my resume appealing. That's something that orang boleh prepare for before dia masuk alam pekerjaan. And then I'd say selain daripada buat part-time, collect experiences. So it doesn't matter lah kalau experiences tu part-time ke, ataupun you volunteer ke, ataupun you pergi tolong mak you berjual kuih ke, semua tu, I rasa benda tu is considered experiences. Doesn't matter what, just include it in your resume because it helps. If you have even the slightest bit of experience yang you feel sangat-sangat yakin in, you feel very confident in showing and telling people, hey, I've done this, include them and talk about it before you masuk dalam alam pekerjaan. And selain tu, this is another, I think like it's slightly off tangent, but take on short courses yang available for free dekat online. So I feel like Microsoft, they offer courses. TED ada offer courses that can be helpful, and look into the trending subjects lah. Trending subjects yang people akan gunakan dalam work. So for example, sekarang people are focusing on ESG, SDG, a lot of ESG, a lot of AI, a lot of apa lagi communication skills and all that kan. So use the time that you have to do these courses. Tak lama pun. Paling-paling pun kalau you buat all in one go, you can finish those classes in a few days. Ataupun kalau you buat ada certain courses, it takes like 8 hours. And then by the end of it, you have sijil kan, diorang akan bagi certificate that you've done this course, short course, and you can include it in your sijil. That's also a way for you to persiapkan diri sebelum masuk alam pekerjaan. That's also what I did. I took courses in UNICEF punya website because I wanted to venture into advocating for reproductive rights under sport community. That's one. And then I also did some AI courses on understanding AI, on ethics of AI, and I got a certificate for that. So it helps to uplift your resume juga lah. And then I was accepted into Google Gemilang punya cohort for I think data analytics, and I did that. So I did the courses, and then so just buat sijil yang short term dekat yang available for free online. Use that to your advantage, and you can make full use of it once you dah masuk alam pekerjaan, because your majikan akan tengok you have this lots of sijil kan. Sijil you kumpul-kumpul daripada semua program BRC yang you join tu ada juga. And then selain daripada tu, you also have this sijil-sijil yang you buat sendiri. You had this short-term courses for, this online courses for. It's going to be very helpful.
Okay, baiklah Cik Alia, terima kasih atas perkongsian yang sangat bermanfaat pada episod kali ini. Semoga pengalaman yang dikongsikan dapat memberi inspirasi dan panduan kepada pelajar dalam merancang masa depan mereka. Jadi para pendengar, jangan ke mana-mana, kita akan membincangkan perjalanan kerjaya alumni selepas tamat pengajian. Jadi jangan ke mana-mana, sila nantikan episod untuk kali kedua.